Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Enough to Keep Going podcast. This is episode number 408 for October 19th, 2025. I am your host, Talmaster99. I'm back. And with me tonight are my two podcast co-hosts. First up, Mr. Game Logic. I'm going to go with you first tonight. How you doing, Game?
I'm good. Sorry for being late. How are you guys?
Good. And one Mr. DBQ Hams. DB, how's it going?
I appreciate that you were not quite sure what to call us. It was a
right.
podcast co-host, or I'm not sure what else you were trying to go with there. So, but you know what? We'll take it. We're glad to be here. We got lots to talk about. So,
yes.
Let's keep going.
I had various things in mind, and I just went with co-hosts. So that's what we're going to let's start the show, though, because we do have a lot of stuff, a lot of GX stories, a lot of news, and then our round robin at the end of the show. First up, and I did change some things around a little bit, so DB, I'm going to have you go first with your first PC game here that you got.
Sure, I'll kick it off. I've been playing a bunch. It's Steam Next Fest, so I'm playing a lot of Steam Next Fest games. Maybe I'll talk about a few other highlights later in the show, depending on where we are for time. But the one game out of a dozen or more that I played that stood out to me is one that's releasing this coming week, which is Painkiller. Painkiller by Anshar Studios. Anshar Studios has only done one other first-party Game Deck, which was an isometric RPG. I remember kind of really narrative-based back in 21. But they've done contract work with Blooper Team and Larian Studios and People Can Fly. So they've been around since 2012, it looks like. Painkiller is... I have no emotional attachment to the original Painkiller. I've never played it, so I'm not necessarily going to be comparing it here. But it is a 3-person online PvE type of game. You are stuck in purgatory, and it is a boomer shooter with semi-modern graphics. One of the things that stands out to me about this game is that it's a $40 game. It knows what it is, right? It is a mid-tier AA type of game. It's also not a live service game. There's a season pass that you can buy for $10, which gives you additional skins and weapon skins and character skins. There are 4 different characters. They all have kind of different weapons and a little bit of abilities, but for the most part, you have a similar move set, which is you've got a dash move rather than a sprint. So it has a little bit of a cooldown. You have some aerial movement in terms of there's certain things within the environment that you can grapple onto and swing around in terms of movement. Sometimes you need to jump and dash. And then you have your Painkiller weapon, which basically is a gun with a spinning blade that mows down enemies, that has unlimited, has no ammo. And when you kill enemies with it, it gives you ammo. So part of there is that resource management of ammo. You have 2 different normal guns. Character I played 2 different characters. One is a higher power, more rapid fire. And with all guns, just like the original Painkiller, have kind of dual purpose, like a dual fire mode. The state gun that I played, which is like a quick fire rifle, but then also has like a grenade launch attached to it. And then the machine gun, which has like an electrical, so your secondary item is your secondary fire is often elemental. And there is a skill tree or a gun tree in terms of unlocking different abilities on your gun, changing the primary fire and the secondary fire, or equipping. I could equip, and my single shot went to a 3-shot. Got some that have, the bullets or the razors that are shot out of it bounce off of enemies, and so there's different types and you unlock that with soul points, which you earn by doing different runs. So it's not necessarily a run based in a rogue type of way. It's more of a run based in like a Left 4 Dead. Yeah, and that's really where it feels in that kind of Back for Blood, Left for Dead, Warhammer Vermintide aspect of online PvE, and you are equipping using your currency that you earn in game to level up your gun, so you've got some meta progression. Then one of the other kind of tweaks to it is that you can, with your gold coins, you can purchase tarot cards. And your tarot cards are kind of modifiers that you can equip. And after a run, those tarot cards are burned or they, expire. So they're only good for a single run. But they can be things like, I saw a really nice one for co-op, which was like enemies don't pay attention to you when you're reviving your teammate, so you can revive your teammates. And one of the nice things is that your teammates, it's going to fill either with online other players or in a friends list, or it's going to throw in bots as well. So you're always playing with 3 different people. And the bots in the demo felt solid. I mean, they weren't just kind of bullet sponges and dying quickly. And actually, I'd never had to revive my bot in the runs I did. So they were relatively intelligent. So the tarot cards can be modifiers of additional damage or reduction of damage or other types of, earn more gold. So, there's different ways to equip those. They can stack if you're buying more than one of the same. It stacks on top of it, so you can have additional damage. I think I stacked 3 additional damage in one run for like 90 additional damage, and I was one-shotting everything except for some of the bosses. And it plays out some of the it's almost like a Destiny Strike in some ways, or where you've got some mechanics where you are grabbing orbs and bringing them to certain places, or following along with aura of protection as you're moving through. So it's not just simply a straight kind of mow everything down. There's a little bit of environment manipulation. I wouldn't necessarily call them puzzles, but there's things that you're doing along with the run. The run itself took 25 to 30 minutes, depending on the type or how quickly you die, and how many times you're getting healed. So, but it's just dumb fun. Like, it is fast paced. There's a ton of enemies coming at you at once. They're not necessarily super intelligent. The demo has got to be an older build of a game, because there's still like sometimes a destroyed enemy would just kind of sit in a T-pose for a while. But overall, really polished, really kind of fluid, and just kind of mindless fun. Like, this was not a game on my radar at all. Like I said, I had no emotional attachment to this game, but now suddenly it is completely on my radar, and probably a purchase that I'll pick up, just because it's fun, right? Reasonable price. It doesn't have to be a forever game. It's not something as a games as a service where I'm going to feel like if I'm not logging in all the time. It's something where I can see partnering up with some friends and just kind of going through, shooting things and having a conversation along the way. So definitely it fits that kind of, fun, mindless online social game.
No, you said you didn't have any history with the old games, but do you know if this is like a reboot, remaster of the old game, or a sequel, or?
It's not a remaster. I guess it's a reboot, right? Like, it is taking this name, it's taking some of the mechanics, like the dual weapon, different characters, totally different story setup, and kind of, it's a different developer. The original Painkiller was People Can Fly. So, right, the team that did Bulletstorm did Gears development, Outriders, and so as Ansher Studios actually did some work with People Can Fly on Outriders, and so it definitely, you can feel that fluidity in the combat.
Nice. Actually, before I get to Game Logic, Ghostface Killer, thanks for dropping by the comments. Game Logic, any questions or comments on this one?
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, I guess. It's sounding like it's kind of a Back for Blood kind of thing.
I think
Which
so. Without at not as much kind of progression. Where Back for Blood, you had those cards that you had to kind of grind away to do modifiers. This is more of a at the run. During the course of the run, you're picking up coins. And those coins are what you're purchasing cards from, and so you're not necessarily, so there's a little bit of that progression because if your unspent cards will go from run to run. Kind of reminds me of Forza 7, where they did like the card modifiers that kind of you burn them once you use them once on a track, which was not a great system, but it does add a little bit of variety and kind of little different ways to spec a character. This was on something that you had your eye on, or I saw at some point you were.
Yeah, so I do have an emotional attachment to Painkiller. It was it was one of those games that arrived on PC, as you mentioned, from People Can Fly, at a time where we were kind of getting back to the notion of good shooters on PC. Like Half-Life had kind of peaked and set off a period of time where there were lots of good shooters, and then they kind of as Halo came onto the scene and the Xbox came into the scene and some of the attention started swerving towards console. There was a period of time where there was kind of a bathtub effect in the PC market, and that we weren't getting as great shooters. And we had the time where we had kind of the consolification, right, of shooters, and Painkiller was a thing that was kind of a little like Serious Sam, but uh, but not quite as campy as Sam. Um, and so it was just a really great kind of unfettered shooter that still, like through cutscenes, had like a really kind of decent premise behind it from a narrative perspective. So I had a lot of fun with it, and played a lot of sequels and spin-offs and things like that as well. So I knew I had heard that it was going to kind of be like a multiplayer emphasis. And if you remember at the time, I said, so I want to keep an eye on it because it's an IP that I'm very fond of, but I don't know that I'm all about kind of turning it into a kind of a game as a service. And so while it sounds like it's a pretty polished experience, it's probably it sounds like it's landing kind of outside my interest zone.
Yeah, right. It's not necessarily the narrative based adventure of the first one in terms of a story based game. And I wouldn't call it a game as a service because everything that I'm seeing and reading about it is that there's no season pass. I mean, there is a season pass. There's no battle pass. There's not a promised roadmap. It feels like it's a project that they are putting out for people to play and have fun with, but not something that as a studio they're going to be committed to in terms of ongoing content. I could certainly see more maps. Right now it sounds like there's going to be 3 zones. So it could, depending on how it lands, it certainly could see some additional content, but there's not this giant roadmap or planned kind of, it's not designed to be a game that's you're going to latch on, get married to, and have to log in every day type of thing.
Yeah, it's still, I mean, I think we're getting into this place in the art now, right, where there are things that, like the breadth of that which we, or at least I collectively think of as a game as a service, kind of runs a gamut, right, from far left to far right. And so yes, like while it might not be a FOMO kind of game as a service game, it still lands in the game as a service category because we talked about this like when we talked about like Arc, right? Is in and then was in, and I think maybe Power World is this model too, but like these $40 games that don't necessarily have seasons, when you hear the developer interviews, they're still tied to this notion of periodic drops of content because they're dependent upon the user base that has bought the game to kind of be the word of mouth advertising to keep new people onboarding to the game. So it sounds like it's kind of going back to that kind of Destiny 2 model at the outset, right, where there were the content packs that dropped every few months, but But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, the key thing for me is that there's no single player like campaign, right? So it kind of requires you to be in a multiplayer kind of modality.
Now, is there no single player just because it's a demo, or they said like there's not going to really be a campaign?
I believe there is none at all. It is a online focused PvE type of game.
Just shooter. Okay.
Yep.
Kim Wright and Hero Donner, thanks for joining us in the comments. Any release date or window for this one?
Yeah, it's this coming week. It's at
this coming week. Okay.
We'll talk about it at the end of the show. Is a game coming out on
not.
multiple consoles on the 21st.
We
Nice.
tell the co-hosts who haven't read ahead in the agenda. I'm just giving you flack now. I'm just joking.
That's all right. No problem. Anything else for this game?
No,
game or DB?
Chances are I'll talk about it again because I will definitely be looking to, maybe it's not something I pick up right at 40. I may be looking at the $30 price point to find find an initial sale type of thing. Yeah, Hero Down Under, I agree. It's pretty fun. So
nice. And Nate, thanks for joining us in the comments. Game Logic, do you want to jump into your PS5 Pro game that you've been playing this past week? He's currently bringing up. I'm assuming. There we go. Oh, Inception. Nice.
Oh, that is. I don't know what's going on here.
Kind of like wave my hand and it'll. Oh, yeah.
there you go. Yeah.
Nah, I must have picked the wrong type of.
So is this? Did you just pick this up this week, or have you had it but haven't had a chance to play it?
I just picked this up this week. Yeah, I must have hit share screen instead of share window. Yeah, this is always my fear and why I hate being on a single monitor now, even though it's ultra wide, because no telling what I would have had up on some other area of the screen. Nothing inappropriate, but I always worry that like my password file or something will be on the screen.
Okay. Astute listeners, pay attention and check the video feed.
So yes, so I picked this up this week right after the show actually. On Monday night, because I had been playing Ghost of Yotei and I kind of wanted to take a little bit of a break, a little bit of a breather. Obviously, I've been really big into sports games this year, but I haven't picked up a new NBA 2K in quite some time. I think the last one that I actually played was I've been playing the Apple Arcade versions that come in the subscription service. So here I am in one of my very rare instances playing the Brooklyn Nets where I'm actually ahead in the game because that has not been the norm for this season. I want to say I think they were like the 6th most losing team last NBA season, and it is definitely a rebuilding year. So I'm having fun playing it. I just played like a few games and then I kind of got back to some other stuff. To me, this like the graphics are good this year, but it doesn't have, I've talked about a lot of the EA games and like them getting their teeth into Frostbite, and where I've gone into Madden and I've gone into college football and I've gone into NHL, and you guys have heard me mention like I feel like there's this like graphical step up like when I compare them to last year that's noticeable, right? Not huge, but noticeable. And I don't feel like in this game. We talk about some of the animations in those other games, and I feel like those animations have really pop and are really well tuned. I don't feel as much that's the case here with NBA 2K.
So can I jump in here?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've played 24 and 25 on the original PlayStation 5, not Pro, on a HDR 4K. And I can tell the lighting here is better than what I saw in 25. So like the character models don't look drastically different. I know they did a little bit of an overhaul with some people, but the lighting definitely feels enhanced from what I was experiencing in 25.
Yeah, and most of my descriptions are definitely in relation to the character models, right? Which is probably the thing that I've spent the most time kind of observing. I also don't feel like the movement in the game. There are kind of some really wonky things where when you hit the DBQ, I don't know what it's called, but like when you're dribbling and you hit like the R stick for like a crossover,
or you're doing a dribble move.
yeah, there are just a lot of instances where, the character will do a trick, but in the course of doing the trick, they will like literally rocket off at like 10 times their normal speed in some random direction, be completely out of position for a shot. It was interesting. I was listening to a sports discussion earlier in the week, and they talked about how in the NBA, it's one of those sports where the focus on statistics and data they felt had kind of ruined the game because people care so much about their shot percentage, and so instead of driving to the net, so many of the shots now in a uneven, much more uneven ratio than before are taken kind of from this region right just outside the paint. And funnily enough, like in this game, like I feel like driving to the hole is like really, really, really difficult, like just unnaturally so. And I feel like you kind of get a lot more of these shots right from, I don't know, 10 feet out from the basket or whatever. And I can't tell if that, so I don't know, like, I just feel like the defensive game in the paint from the CPU, and I haven't messed with sliders yet, just natively at the pro level or whatever the default level is just really, really stingy and forces a much less exciting game of basketball than I, who grew up in like the Jordan, Chicago Bulls, Detroit Pistons era, would prefer and have kind of become accustomed to. So I am having fun, but not quite the same amount of fun I've been having with like FC26 or Madden or college football or NHL. We'll see how it goes. I will also attribute that partially to playing the Brooklyn Nets, which is just a really, really painful team. I'm letting the computer manage a lot of the stuff. So the computer is managing trades. I know I picked up one guy, Van Vliet or something like that, who got brought in for trade. But like I've seen him, but I'm also having the computer manage the lineups. And so I've seen that guy like one time. And so where I left off, I've actually got to go back and check and see if he's like injured or something like that, or what's going on with the rotation. But other than that, I'm having a decent time. And it's a fine game. Like it's definitely a good game. It just doesn't feel as tweaked and polished as some of the other sports franchises are this year. And that's maybe just a matter of kind of teams hitting their momentum and stride in these annualized releases and with the engines and tools and utilities that they're working with.
How are you finding the shot meter? Because I know they tweaked it again. There was some criticism over last year's shot meter, which was different than 24, and it sounds like they did it again. One of the things I'm seeing online is like in the competitive space, it's dominated by 3-pointers just around the shot meter. So I'm curious on somebody who hasn't played in a couple of years coming to a shot meter, how you're finding it.
So this is the same conversation that you and I have with MLB. I do not do meters. I'm like brutally antagonistic. Okay. I can't stand them. But it's funny that you mentioned that about the online discourse too, because like in I forget who I was playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, and like just everything was like for them, like they were just draining threes like to a ridiculous degree. And like I said, they weren't even trying to drive to the hole. Like, and that's where I started getting kind of a little frustrated in like the way the game is playing. Just because the CPU tends to, do what this conversation I heard earlier in the week, kind of mentioned, which is like, rarely driving to the hole. Of course, now on the screen, they just drove to the hole just then, but no, they take such a high percentage of shots from, just barely outside the paint and the 3-point line that it just kind of just feels not as exciting. But on top of that, it's not as exciting and it's frustrating and annoying, right? So, I'm going to continue playing it and just kind of see how it goes.
Well, it's very appropriate you picked it up with the NBA season starting this week. So
I haven't played one since 22 or 23, maybe on the original Switch. Maybe because it was the Switch 2, and even before that, I think it was even longer. But I always find like the basketball controls, I won't say tanky, but it doesn't seem as smooth as say like a Madden. I guess just Madden for me, because I'm mean, baseball is pretty much usually running into straight lines and stuff, except for maybe the outfield. But it always seems like it wasn't as smooth, kind of moving. Like when you're moving, like especially when like you said, when you're trying to drive, into the lane or just trying to get around people, it's almost like you kind of hit like an invisible ball, like kind of just stuck to them, like as you're trying to move. I don't know if it's, and then even looking at the video, watch the video here, it kind of still looks like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me with the movement. Do you find that like the movement kind of weird at all on this version?
I don't necessarily find it weird, but I do definitely feel like the difference in the fluidity of the animations, and that's why I was saying, like, I feel like that is the difference between like a team at 2K doing it right versus a team at EA using the Frostbite engine. So yeah. I don't necessarily feel like they're tanky. Like I said, I do definitely feel like they are wonky and not as precise and tight as I would prefer. Now what I haven't done is like FC Football Club series does a really good job of kind of having these mini games for you to play before a game. So if you're not doing the training mini games on your own, like in between games, it kind of sets up these what I think are these smaller bite-sized pieces of training sessions right before a game that tend to give you more incentive and get you more interested in participating in that part of the content because it gives you bonuses in game, right? So I always play the training events in between games. I almost never take charge at the training events like in between games, like on your calendar. But when you play those, they introduce you to different tactics and control moves that you would normally never do, like like precise dribbling, right, with the RB button and the L stick. And how to sprint and dribble, and how to do some of the soccer equivalent of like a crossover and stuff. Like it trains you how to do that. So what I haven't done in this is I haven't dug into the controls and done a ton of other things that might give me some more options, which might maybe lend itself to me feeling like the controls were more precise. But yeah, I'll see.
How are the announcers in the game? Are they pretty spot on? They're pretty like up to date on things as they're going through, or you see a little like lag sometimes on calls or whatever.
No, and I despite what I said earlier, and that person said they felt like statistics have ruined the games of all sorts of sports. I love statistics, so I appreciate them, and they in similar vein to like Madden and better than college football, they do call out stats where they call out what your shot percentage has been in the first half. I think in this game, when I come out for the second half, or several minutes into the second half, or at the close to the end of the third period, the announcer mentions the Brooklyn Nets have held them to 5 points this period. So like little things like that help. And like I said, they're much better than college football, where I feel like college football is a little schizophrenic, right? In terms of like it'll say, because of the way you have the time set, like you might be like the stingiest defense in a given division just because you're not playing as long, and so the computer doesn't rack up as many yards, and it'll mention that, but like it'll concurrently say that like you have a weak defense and they've been running over you all day, right? So like there's some incongruencies there, but this one I think is pretty sharp. I like the halftime show with Shaq and I can't remember the other two co-hosts there, but it's a little
Kenny
silly,
Yep.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Yeah, it's the T&T people. Yep.
Yeah, it's a little silly and a little campy, but like I said, they do occasionally rattle off some good information, right? That helps with that immersiveness and feeling like you're actually playing a week to week sport.
Have you seen? I think you hadn't played it too much, but have you seen a lot of? I guess kind of hard too, but a lot of repeats and kind of like the plays and stuff, or is it pretty varied?
Attending one of my kids' middle school basketball games this week, where literally our team literally ran the same play every time they came down the court, even though they didn't have like half the team had quit in the middle of the week. and the opposing team like was taller than them, but they were constantly like trying to throw the ball over the opposing team's head. And I'm like, does your coach not taught you how to bounce fast? No, I haven't seen that level of repetitiveness in this game, and it is kind of something different. One thing, and again, I don't know, I don't know if you've seen on the screen. I keep changing like tactics, like every time there's a timeout. And so when I mentioned I haven't dug into the controls, I know that there's like a button you hit where you can like the icon comes up over each person's head, and you can pick which one to pass. And you can call for a fast break, and you can call for a screen. I haven't dug into that, but like it again, I'm a little bit annoyed that like when I have the ball, it's almost like no one ever cuts like to the basket or anything, and I'm like, okay, I've called enough different tactics that that person
nobody's moving in this
Yeah.
clip for anybody
Yeah.
watching the video. Like they all just stand on the perimeter waiting to
Right.
get passed.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is, like I can remember being screamed at basketball practice, right, for doing that same thing. I'm like, and these guys are supposed to be pros, so I don't know. Certainly you could manually overcome that, but I also feel like I shouldn't have to.
Nice.
That's another thing, like rebounds too, right? Like I'm like, I throw up a 3-point shot, and like literally no one breaks for the basket to get the rebound. Like, so I mean, I know the Nets are bad, but come on, it's at some point, like the basic person, making $1 million to play professional basketball knows to go to the hoop, right? When your teammate misses.
Can you change the camera to just be like go instead of being like up and down and be kind of sideways? Okay,
I think it does have different,
because that transition looks kind of weird to me, a little janky, maybe like when it's flipping to the other side, like when the other team gets it.
Yeah, one thing that would be really nice in a basketball game is, with all this AI, ML stuff that's going on, very frequently in this game, like you'll be playing a person. I'm a person who doesn't doesn't switch to the defense of the person, to the person who has the ball, right? Whatever person I am, I just play that assignment. So often I'm on assignment that's off the ball, and very frequently, like the person you're covering will step outside the view of the camera, and I'm like, it'd be nice if, like, by great Scott, in the decades of years we've been doing basketball, right? Because I remember this problem like back in the early 2000s. I'm like, it would be nice if like the camera would just rotate like just a skosh enough, right, to get that person into view, because you wind up sitting there, guessing at where they are. And the problem is that if they sprint and break right to the hoop, or to someplace else on screen to get a pass, particularly for a 3-pointer, you lose a fraction of a second right in reaction time, from them just suddenly appearing on screen. So
Nice. DB, any other comments on this? All right, let's jump into my game real quick. Battlefield 6. I've been playing that, which actually came out a couple weeks ago. I unfortunately wasn't here last week to talk about it, but I've been playing that for the past like week and a half-ish before some other games came out this past week. So yeah, I've been playing on PC. I will say, like, watching the clips here, and this is actually my gameplay for once, not just randoms. It is a very beautiful game. Like the graphics are just outstanding. Kind of like in, which I kind of don't like, but here it's not so much a problem, but kind of like in Call of Duty games, like you have just stuff flying everywhere. Obviously it's war, so you can have stuff exploding, and you'll see stuff like even way in the background, like not so much in this map because it's a smaller one. This is the Cairo map, but some of the larger maps, so you could see like the planes and tanks and stuff like way off in the distance. Obviously, there's it's a war, so there's all kinds of stuff going on. It's just a very, very pretty game. Currently, I've only been playing the Conquest mode, which is obviously there's 5 points in this map. Sometimes there can be a little bit less or more depending on the size of the map. That you kind of control. If you have more, you get the opposite team's tickets start to count down. So you're constantly going back and forth, just trying to get as many points as you can. I think this one we actually ended up losing. I didn't get the end of this because I had to leave. It kind of cuts off at the end. But yeah, just having a great time with this game. It's been a while since I really played a Battlefield. I played, I think, one like a good amount back when that came out, and then I never played 5. And I other than the beta, I didn't play the last one. I forgot, it was 2048 or 46 or something. I forgot what it was. But yeah, just having a great time with this game. Once again, you can classes don't really matter for what guns you can use, so you can just switch out any guns. You can play any kind of gun that you want. Excuse me. There are some challenge specific stuff though you have to do, like with the guns, like that, because like each class, obviously, like assault classes will have like the rifles, assault rifles. I think the recon is snipers, and the support, which is like the medics, they start with SMGs normally. So sometimes you have to do certain things with those guns with that class. So I think they kind of do that so you can kind of keep using those guns. Otherwise, you're just going to pick your favorite gun for all the classes, which is fine if you want to do that. But I do like to just like in Call of Duty, I like to use all the guns that are at my disposal. So I've been pretty much keeping with each gun for each class, for at least for right now, until I lock some stuff. And actually, we'll talk about the unlocks here in a little bit in the news. But once again, I try to play support a lot, but it's a thankless job most of the time. You always get yelled at for not being, reviving people. But hey, I think each squad should probably have at least one support, but that doesn't happen all the time usually. So I at least try to stick with my squad. Try to revive them when they're down, and just anytime, even if I'm not playing support, I'll try to revive people, even though it takes longer when you're not a support person. So there's two ways on the support person you can revive people, other than, so everybody can just do like kind of regular revive where you kind of grab the person and then you kind of see like and I don't think I'm the support here in this one. I think I'm playing I think engineer, but everybody can just they'll pull out like a little like syringe or something and it sits there for a few seconds before you stick it in the chest, and the medic or the support person can actually do it a little bit faster. But then they also have a defibrillator, which just right away you can just revive somebody within like a second. So that's actually kind of nice. And then each class has their own specialty. Like I said, support has you can revive people quickly. You got the engineer who can repair vehicles, tanks, or planes or whatever. Well, I don't know about planes, but helicopters. It'd be kind of hard to do the planes, I think. I don't know if that's possible. Assault has really sure what assault has. They have this weird thing where you can throw it down. It's almost like a ramp. Not really sure what the heck that's even used for, but kind of weird. Recon, obviously, you can get different things to ping out people. I think eventually you unlock a drone that you can fly around and obviously ping people. This part is actually pretty nice because I take out a few people here, just kind of doing my sniper thing here. I'm actually playing recon here. I forgot, but yeah, just having just a great time with this game. Kind of getting a little bit of flack here and there just because of the map size, which I do a little bit still agree with. I know that was kind of a thing in the beta. There are at least two larger maps that they have now, which wasn't in the beta at all, which is nice. But kind of old school Battlefield. People kind of complain about that. The map's too small. But like I said, this is probably one of the smallest maps that I've played so far. But yeah, just having a great time with it. There's probably one other. It's kind of small. It's kind of long, but it's more of kind of a corridor, like kind of when you're in the mountains. So you kind of stuck within that, the corridor of that. It's not very wide. It's just kind of long. So that's kind of annoying too. But there are vehicles in that one. I think there's only tanks and maybe like not a Jeep, but like a 4-wheeler or something in this one too. So, not a huge variety of vehicles in this one, unfortunately, but it does happen. The other thing with this map still, and actually happened in the beta too, I guess there's people would get on the roofs of some of these buildings here on this part of the map, kind of in the middle of the map. And I guess there's a glitch where you can kind of still get on top of them. I guess using the drone. I saw somebody in the chat complaining about it, so I was like, oh, great. And I did see at one point somebody was kind of moving around up there, but I kind of lost sight of them, so I never did get a chance to snipe them. But I guess that's still in the map, unfortunately. So, but there's always those kind of glitches where we can do that kind of stuff. So I'm sure they'll patch it out eventually. Another thing during the beta, I know the shotgun was a pain point for a lot of people. That one seems a little bit better. It doesn't seem as bad. I think that too is you with the shotgun when you're doing a one-shot hit from across the map too. That might still happen, but I think you have to unlock a lot of the unlocks, a lot of the attachments basically to get to that part. So I haven't really seen that. People have been using it, but I usually hit them. I usually come up against them when I'm in a building, which makes sense. If you're close range, yeah, you can hit me one shot. So I haven't seen the sniper shotgun thing yet. So hopefully they fixed that. But I think all in all, I'm having a great time with it so far. Harry Down Under has he's been brutalized in BF6, but he's been having a lot of fun too. Yeah, it does happen sometimes where you do get pretty trounced on. But like I said, I'm having a ton of fun and kind of keep playing it, and hopefully try some of the other maps. I don't know. Conquest is kind of like bread and butter. Is kind of like team. They do have a team deathmatch, I think, but I think those ones are on the smaller maps, so they don't have a lot of vehicles and stuff. But I like to have like the bigger maps and play with all the vehicles and stuff like that. I've done the helicopters a few times, but man, Battlefield the vehicle with the helicopters, it's hard driving those things. So I just got to get used to it. I got pretty decent with it, and I think 4 was it 3 or 4? I can't remember which one it was, but I just got to play them over, and I haven't even had a chance to get any of the planes yet. So I do want to do that. I did enjoy getting the planes a lot in 4. So especially in that city map that they had. So hopefully I'll get a chance. But been a great time so far. Any comments or questions on this?
Graphically, how's it running for you?
I haven't had any problems. I haven't seen any like tearing or like pop-ins or anything like that. So it's been pretty smooth. I think I'm sure I've said in the past I got a RTX 3070, so not top of line or anything, but it's like you can see here. I mean, it still looks great. So I think I have pretty much everything on high. I'm pretty sure. I don't even think I did anything with the graphic settings at all. I just jumped in and started playing, so it's pretty well optimized as far as I can tell.
And that was the thing that DICE focused on in design and during the game's development to not put so much bling and chrome on everything. That they wanted the game to be performant for people on a wide range of hardware. There's no ray tracing in the game because they wanted to focus on gameplay and not on a lot of graphical stuff. So Tal, the season pass for season 1 drops this week. Is that right?
I'm not sure. Actually, I haven't seen anything about that.
I thought it drops on the 23rd. I could be wrong, but it's definitely this month. It's either this week or worst case next week. Are you planning on staying in once the battle passes and stuff start?
I mean, I'll probably keep playing. I probably won't buy the battle pass because I didn't even know we were going to start having battle passes on here. So I'll have to see like how I've been pulled between so many games lately, so probably not. I actually bought the battle pass for Skate, which was probably a mistake because as soon as I bought that, this came out and a couple other games this week. So I was like, I probably shouldn't have bought that, but I'll still kind of try to get through that one. But yeah, I'll probably skip the battle pass and just play the game. I'm sure. Well, there'll probably be a free tier 2, hopefully. So at least I get some stuff, which is fine.
Yeah. And it looks to me like you're playing with keyboard and mouse here. Yeah,
it's definitely. No controller. not for a shooter like this. No, sir. Yeah. So having a great time with that. So, DB, if you don't have any other comments or questions, let's jump into the main news headline and keep with Battlefield 6. First couple stories here that I have. As I had mentioned, Battlefield 6 will be getting updates to speed up XP progression and unlocks as EA tackles plague of bot farmers. This is on Rock Paper Shotgun by Edwin Evans Thurlwell. Excuse me if I messed that up. Battlefield 6 will soon receive updates to let you earn more XP per shoot brawl, rank up faster, and unlock gadgets and weapon attachments sooner. The tweaks are coming in response to frustration about selection progression that have seen players pack the game's community servers with XP farming matches against bots. Now, when I was playing, probably every at least 2, maybe even 3 games, I'd probably have something unlocked. So it's not terrible. I mean, the games obviously can go a little bit long, but I didn't really see a problem with it. Obviously, during the beta, they're going to be, unlocking stuff fairly quickly for you. But I didn't think it was a problem. But obviously, a lot of people online were seeing an issue. So, so the changes they're making, they're bumping up the XP from completion and daily login bonuses by 10% and 40% respectively. They're also reducing the XP required to unlock the first 20 attachment ranks, meaning you can start earning useful attachments almost twice as fast. In other news, the assignments, this was basically this. I did have kind of a problem with multiplayer challenge. The assignments are multiplayer challenges to earn cosmetics and such. I haven't earned anything yet. And I think which makes sense because I think I'm level 13 or 14 right now overall. So there before it was required at ranks 20, 23, and 26, and now they'll be required career ranks of 10, 15, and 20 respectively. So yeah, I hadn't no. So these are camos and skins for not only your guns, but I guess for your player too. Like I played a crap ton that first week, and I don't think I've unlocked any camos yet for any of the guns at all. So I think I might have one camo. I think it was like a bonus or something for pre-ordering it or something like that. So it was just a little weird that stuff wasn't a little bit faster. But now it'll be a little faster now. So you get some rewards after playing so much. But it's fine. Like I was having fun with the game anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. And then they kind of go on to talking about the bot farms. Excuse me. I see over the past week, many of them noticed that we have reached maximum capacity on the community servers. The dev goes on, after reviewing the data, we found that the large number of these servers were created primarily to earn XP, to inflate player stats, and earn special accolades through defeating bosses. So they're gonna that was kind of doing all that XP progression and stuff, bumping it up. So that was kind of their answer to that. So hopefully there won't be as many bot farms. And then they had mentioned somewhere else on this article that because of that, it was like people weren't finding games to actually play in, which I didn't have any problems. I think I played Thursday and Friday of last week, so I would pretty much queue up fairly quickly, within 15, 20, 30 seconds. So I didn't have any problems jumping into queue. So hopefully we don't see any other problems with that. I mean, there were queues initially those first couple days, obviously. I think when I first joined the game, what was it, Wednesday or Thursday when released, I was like 300,000 in line in the queue. But since then, though, I've pretty much gotten in right away, so I haven't seen those big queues like that anymore. So but yeah, it's nice that they've tweaked that a little bit. And then second article real quick, and this goes on for the numbers for Battlefield sells over 7 million units in 3 days, EA confirmed. So the original article, Battlefield 6 had sold over 7 million units across all platforms in 5 days, according to data shared exclusively with Game Industry Biz. And this is from Sophia McAvoy, excuse me. Alinea Analytics estimates that Battlefield 6 has generated 350 million in gross revenue so far and performing better than every premium game launch this year, only to be beat by EA Sports FC 26. Kind of just data from across all platforms, aggregated data from its aggregated estimates across Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation show that the same time period of launch of FC 26 sold 7.7 million, Monster Hunter World 6.2, and then Borderlands 2.3, with Split Fiction and Kingdom Come selling a little over 1.3 and 2 million there. And then they kind of break down some other numbers here. I don't know if we want to go through all those. But then EA did update later on, a few days later. Electronic Arts has confirmed that Battlefield 6 has sold over 7 million copies in the first 3 days of launch. The firm also shared that 172 million matches have been played during the same period, with 15 million hours watched on streaming services. And then Vincent Pella goes on to thank the community, obviously for the coming in to enjoy Battlefield 6. So pretty good numbers. And then they also mentioned, I believe this is like the best start for a Battlefield ever. So that's good to hear too. Any comments or questions or anything on either of these articles? Nothing from DB? Game Logic, anything? No? All right. Let's jump into our next news story. And I think Mr. Game Logic, you'll be interested in this. So Assetto Corsa Rally aims to fill a Colin McRae-shaped void, and it's out in early access next month. Attention folks who like, and then this is from Rock Paper Shotgun by Mark Warren. Attention folks who like the idea of flinging fire-breathing Group B monster down some dirt tracks. Assetto Corsa devs Kunos are bringing out a rally sim. It's called Assetto Corsa Rally. As with road racing AC successor Assetto Corsa Evo, the studio and co-developer Supernova Games have opted to go the Steam early access route for the selection of Scandinavian flicks, with the release penned for November 13th of this year. I'm assuming that's just November. It's a little misprint there. Feeling like a modern day a modern rally simulator. We built a team and developed a technology to create one ourselves with the support of drivers, engineers, and collectors, mechanics, and industry experts. Supernova studio director Mauro Notarbarandino, I think that's how you say it, sorry, said in the game's announcement post, a special thanks to Kuno Ziani, I'm butchering these names, whose partnership was crucial in maintaining the signature feel of the series, especially in terms of driving model in this new chapter. And then kind of just jumping down, getting to the meat of the game. Both studios will promise laser scan stages faithfully mirroring real-life counterparts, the use of Assetto Corsa's physics engine to render everything from surfaces to weather in cars ranging from 60s and 70s classics, modern trailblazers. So by the time of the full release, the Steam page outlines it is coming in less than 18 months. The studio is going to have 5 different rallies and a roster of over 30 cars up and running. Likes of a driving school and career mode are also planned. A number of players have pointed out in response to this announcement, not to take on while it is a lot to take on while Kuno still have Assetto Corsa Evo in paid early access and in need of more additions before its 1.0 release. So I find that kind of interesting there. I didn't realize the Evo was still in early release. So was this something you knew about Game Logic? I don't remember you talking about it, but I also could have forgotten, as I have often did on all these games we talk about.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Evo, which, as you mentioned, is still in early access and is not doing well on Steam. It's mixed. It currently has like a 57% approval rating, which is not good. And it's really a shame because their other 2 games are thought of as being 2 of the best in racing simulations. I think I've mentioned on this show, maybe other places, that that professional racing teams, including Formula One and some of the other series, use Assetto Corsa as their training simulator. Most of the F1 teams, I think, use Codemasters' F1 series. Some of them supplement with Assetto Corsa. Some racers in other racing series, like the GT car racing series, do use Assetto Corsa. So it's a shame because something is going on. I mean, because those other 2 games, if I remember correctly, I don't think they were early access. Corsa 2 may have had a limited early access window, but they've spent a significant amount of time with Evo in early access, and I'm like, how can you be like an award-winning, like world-renowned team with this racing title and franchise, and then go into early access where you should have the opportunity to learn a lot, and have everybody kind of disapproving of it? I don't think it bodes well to be trying to do a rally game, while as they mentioned, your other game is in early access and it's not doing well. So I would be concerned. I'll peek in on it and see what the rest of the Steam community thinks about, but I don't plan on off tracking any of my own gaming cycles to spend chasing after something that may not turn out well. It's kind of a shame because there just aren't a lot of great racing game studios right now, right? Codemasters, outside of the Formula One team, I don't know that Codemasters really has the chops anymore. The Need for Speed franchise is on sabbatical right now. So what was the thing? Test Drive Unlimited, Solar Crown or something like that, did not do well, despite that being the team that used to do the licensed WRC game before EA took it. I have no idea where the WRC license is now, because Codemasters has given it up. I thought maybe there was a news story that Kyloton or whatever was getting it back, but yeah, it's just not there are plenty of good racing games out, but like these staple teams that have been like the teams, right, for the last 10, 15, 20 years, something seems to be going on.
Nice. DB, any comments on this one? No. Just to go back to the BF6 news stories, Here Down Under did ask, is that analytics company believable? I mean, I've never heard of them before, but I think it was that Elenia, as they were called. I don't know if you or DB game if you know have heard of them before.
Yeah, I meant to say when you brought them up, and I held myself back because this is a GameIndustry.biz article. So, when you first mentioned their name, I was about to jump in and say, the gaming community and social media just outlet a collective groan as if they were all on Alderaan when the Death Star blew it up. But this is a GameIndustry.biz article quoting them. Now, GameIndustry.biz has lost. Has a slight hitch in its step since being acquired by IGN. I don't think of them as polished as they used to be. It seems like Vicky Blake is like the only person who's writing at like 5 different sites, other than Rebecca Valentine. So there's clearly some effort to save costs going on within that publishing house, but it's for the time being, I still give GameIndustry.biz the benefit of the doubt. Alenia has been on the scene trying to make a name for itself. It is definitely hit some infield grounders that have quickly been picked up, and they've been thrown out for double plays on more than one occasion. So yeah, everything that they quote now for metrics, I take with a grain of salt. I take with a grain of salt, expecting like if they put out data and I put it through the smell test and it's not passing, then it's a grain of salt. But I also expect it to be undone right when the real data comes out.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's jump into our next news article. This is over in Destructoid by Scott Dewey. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce that. Marvel Rivals gets invaded by zombies in its first ever co-op PvE experience, and it sets a very exciting precedent. So this is going to be a new PvE mode revolving around the Disney Marvel Zombies animated show that came out. I think all episodes are out now, I believe. If not, they're pretty close to. So basically, you'll be queued up for 4-player co-op mode and play as one of 5 heroes, including Blade, Punisher, Magic, Thor, and Jeff the Land Shark, as they slay zombies in New York City and eventually make their way to the final boss, Zombie Scarlet Witch, which I believe they showed in the What If episode, also known as the Queen of the Dead. So, when I was looking at the trailer here, it looks kind of cool, but the zombies were very tanky, like just the regular zombies, which is a little weird for them going against heroes. DB, were you gonna say something there?
No, just I watched the same thing, and I was like, that seems like a lot of hits to take down. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what this balance feels like.
Yeah, now I don't know if that was like a later. It looks like it's kind of Left 4 Dead-ish. Like you just get waves of zombies coming at you. So I don't know if that was like a later level or something. But like each clip they showed, it was like they were just taking all kind of hits, to these zombies. So I'll have to see how it is. This is, like I said, this is their first PvE go through mode. So we'll have to see how it goes. It's good. I should say good. It's an interesting mix of characters here. You got mostly melee, Magic, Blade, even Thor. He's got kind of a lightning attack, but so is Jeff the Land Shark a little bit. But I mean, more or less, they're mostly all melee for the most part. So it's kind of interesting the characters they picked also. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I thought that was kind of cool because this is kind of a totally brand new mode, and it has nothing to do with the hero shooter-ish modes that they have now, or mode that they have now. So they've kind of played around with this too, where they had that, I think it was during the summer, they had that kind of Splatoon-like mode with Jeff the Land Shark, kind of painting the levels or spewing water, I guess, as he does. And they've had a couple other kind of LTMs like that too, limited time modes. So it's kind of cool that they're throwing different things out there, other than just the regular hero shooter modes. So definitely we'll check that out.
Yeah, I think Zero Down Under's comment of, yes, he can finally play Marvel Rivals. I think this is the first time I may have to download it again since the beta. But I think one of the news stories around this announcement was also like the reality of the player base kind of eroding over the last 6 months in Marvel Rivals. And so it'll be interesting to see if this does anything to spike player engagement.
Yeah, I myself, I haven't played it in quite a while. Not because I just didn't like it or anymore or anything like that. I just had so many games coming out now, so I definitely want to jump back into the main game. Oh, I will say the last time I played with one of my, I believe this was one of my friends. This all the stuff that's on the UI now, the main menu, and even when you finish your matches, they're just like popping up, all kinds of different stats, and not even just stats, but like it's almost like a mobile game where they're just throwing up stuff like, hey, you've unlocked stuff for this game, these line of quests. And they have a lot of quests now that are going on in tandem, other than just like the main, you got to kill, like 10 people with, Thor, whatever, those basic challenges. There's all these other quests that you can do now that they have running, like 2 or 3 different ones at least, if not more. Plus, I think sometimes they have quests for the different game modes too. So it's just like kind of a lot they throw at you now. But hopefully it didn't get lost. And that might be one of the things too that's kind of killing it. It's just like all that junk that gets kind of thrown at you, before and after the game. So
sure, all the monetization of it. Yeah.
Which I get it because it's a free game, but still, there's better ways you can do it than just all that popping up at you. Game on check anything on this? If not, if you want to jump into your news article.
I just want to ask: are they still putting new characters in the game? Because I feel like I haven't heard of a new character coming in the game since Fantastic Four.
Yeah, the next season they had was Angela. The first half of the season, they just added Daredevil. The second half, which I think just started 2 or 3 weeks ago or so. It was pretty recent.
Who is Angela?
Angela, I believe, was created for Image Comics, if I remember correctly, originally, or some kind of.
It looks like it's a Rob Liefeld type of character design. I only know her from Marvel Snap, but yes, it is a X-Men adjacent intergalactic galaxy character.
Yeah, but I know originally she was like some other company's character, and then they kind of just absorbed her into Marvel for some reason. I don't know why, but I don't know what the story was behind that. But yeah, that's who Angela was. There is.
And who is it that and I'm going somewhere with this, so I asked for the bench to give me a wide range of latitude in the courtroom.
Okay.
Who is it that shows up that Charlize Theron plays at the end of Doctor Strange? I think her name Clea.
That's Clea. Yeah, that's a known. Well, I've known her from the comics before. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like she's not. I mean, to me, I feel like she's not well known. I mean, I know who she is now, but I don't know that I've ever seen her in anything until I saw her at the end of Doctor Strange. Although she is now in, I think she's in an X-Men book now. But at any rate, my point of this is that I've tried to be a little silent without being very direct, that I've always had a lack of confidence in Marvel Rivals. Feeling that it banked very heavily on the IP. It's a NetEase game, so just feeling that. Look, I mean, I think I did say when it first launched, like eventually this thing is going to become Gotcha Palooza, and quite honestly, I to a certain extent I have a certain amount of feeling about the MCU. Like my feeling about the MCU had always been like, look, Marvel's got great, tier 1 and tier 2 characters, but then like once you start like getting further down the pike, you start getting things like Squirrel Girl, and Spider Pig, and then you start to lose some of the gravitas that comes with like a new character introduction. So it's been, I think DBQ, when at the outset we talked about like, okay, how much are they like putting like the marquee characters in, and how much are they holding back? And so hearing that Daredevil's not showing up till next season, right? Good move, right? Daredevil's a great character, but I worry, they've figured out some things with the MCU, because a thing I'd always said about the MCU is like, okay, when you see Shang-Chi start showing up in a movie, now we got issues, right? Because you're starting to get far down the roster. But I actually liked like Shang-Chi's movie, and I
think there for a second. If you said something different,
that was a good movie. Like, yeah. But yes, it is not a marquee character that has a lot of established, franchise base.
Yeah, I will say I'm going to take this moment because I said I was going to take some moment on some podcast here this week. I stayed up and watched Thunderbolts this Saturday, and I got to tell you, I haven't watched all of the Multiverse Saga movies, but I absolutely feel like the best Multiverse Saga movie, and the best Marvel movie that I've quite honestly seen like in a very long time. I was super impressed. I feel I won't go into a whole review, but I was very. I'd say this too about the Matrix, the second Matrix movie, which everybody else hates, but I'd say it about Thunderbolts in that you could have done like a standard MCU movie, right? You could have had a big, huge like fighting like thing and a bunch of explosions, and they don't do that. It deals with a lot of issues of mental health, in a way that just incredibly well crafted. But at any rate, the MCU has figured out a way. My point is, the MCU has figured out a way to handle how do we bring in B tier characters, C tier characters, and not have like a deadpan, like useless movie. And I just question how long the tail is going to run on Marvel Rivals based on the IP. And the convergence of that with the fact that NetEase is going to turn it into a Gotcha-Palooza game. So yeah, I mean, this week the report was an 85% player slough off. So it's we'll see where it goes. And again, and along with my premise that when I thought through the data like a few months ago when we talked about this, that I don't think hero shooters have the gravitas in the market like that we've all convinced ourselves that they had. Until we like ran down the list and like, oh wait a second, like what hero shooters are really like big money makers and have longevity and staying power. It's really not many. So be interesting to see how this turns out.
Yeah, and just to keep on the tangent of Thunderbolts, was a good movie, and also so good that that director's going to do the new X-Men movie when they make that one. So,
oh man, I'm sorry, that is literally that's a perfect fit, because when you talk about the X-Men is to me is such a character driven IP, like in character development driven IP, even more so than Avengers. Like Avengers is like literally like they're spit and polish, like they're glitz and glam, like you really have to dig into the character relationships to tell a good X-Men story. So having seen Thunderbolts, that's it's a perfect fit, I think.
And just for follow up on Angela, right? There was a character created by Todd McFarlane, Spawn, and Neil Gaiman for American comics. And then there was a legal dispute between who owned it, and McFarlane sold it to McFarlane won the legal dispute and sold it to, or not McFarlane, sorry, Gaiman won the legal dispute and sold it to Marvel. But that's why it looks like a Spawn character, because a Todd McFarlane character, because it originated in Spawn.
Yeah, I knew there was something to do with one of the creators over there. All right, Mr. Actually, Game Logic, stay on the mic as you have the next headline news from Nintendo Everything. That's sales numbers.
Story. Yep. Nintendo reveals Europe's best-selling digital games for September 2025. Hollow Knight Silksong takes the crown. In a recent news post sent out to Switch owners, Nintendo provided a listing of the top 15 European eShop downloads for September 2025. Do you guys get these emails? Like I don't. Maybe they're on the Nintendo app or something. I don't know.
No, not from Nintendo Everywhere. No.
Yeah, maybe they just go out in your region or something. I don't know. No, it says this is coming from Nintendo. Recent news post sent out to Switch owners, Nintendo provided a listing. Yeah,
but it must be European though, because I've never seen it in a US store.
Yeah, I don't know. On the Nintendo Switch 2 front, Hollow Knight Silksong.
Oh, wait, I guess you could, right? You could look at top sellers and then just kind of make your own list.
Yeah, you could. It catches me off guard that this says it's a news post sent out to Switch owners.
Yeah, so it could certainly be a Nintendo Europe thing.
Yeah, it could be through the news. They have that news app on the Switch that you can kind of look through. But I've never seen like numbers like this though in that, so it's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll dig into it and figure it out. Then I got to make sure this is okay. So, Super Mario Galaxy plus Super Mario Galaxy 2 does manage to make the list, but it's at number 8 Full list of Europe's top 15 downloads on the Nintendo Switch eShop for both Switch and Switch for September 2025 is as follows. I mentioned Hollow Knight. We got Hades 2, Hollow Knight, and Hollow Knight Silk Song. So that's super interesting that the debut of Hollow Knight Silk Song actually kicked Hollow Knight purchases into high gear, so much so that they actually came out ahead of Silk Song.
I think there was a
DK
discount
Bonanza
on Hollow Knight as well.
Yep. Yeah. DK Bonanza, Star Wars Outlaws, which I have picked up, eSports FC26, which I haven't gotten yet, but I plan to. It's actually good to see the Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2 bundle doing well. I was kind of questioning how well that would take off.
So
Yeah,
I would say that's incredibly well, because it's either pre-purchases or it is because it launched on October 2nd. So it is either counting the last month or the last week of September. So it is, yeah, that's a good sign for that.
Yep. I'm not going to go through these all by name. I don't see anything here in the bottom 10 that really leap out at me. On Switch, so that was the Switch 2 list. On Switch, you've got Hollow Knight Silk Song, flipping with Hollow Knight, Hades 2, EA Sports FC26. So it's very interesting to see that title, which is a newer title, and effectively cross-gen on Switch 2, still finding traction on the OG Switch, as well as including its Ultimate Edition. Nothing else here really sticks out at me. So anything on this list that really stuck out at you guys?
Just Minecraft still, especially on the Switch side. Number 4 on the Switch, on the original Switch. So still going strong. DB, anything on that one?
Yeah, just the timing of the Mario re-releases and what that counts as. So,
yeah. All right, DB, you want to take us out? Unfortunately, on a sad note. For
yeah, well, this is just a quick acknowledgement, right? So the developer Itagaki of the Ninja Gaiden kind of reboot on Ninja Gaiden 1, 2, and Ninja Gaiden Black. He was the lead developer. This is the Xbox Ninja Gaiden from the early 2000s, also the creator of Dead or Alive. He was with Tecmo during that time, broke off from Tecmo after a series of legal things around back pay or bonuses is what the suit was back in 2018. This is an article, so it's picked up a lot of different places. The article I grabbed was from GameIndustry.biz, but for me, this was, if you've been following games for 25 years plus, he was somebody who was very active on social media in the 2000s. Early Twitter had a lot of Itagaki on it as well, very much in the kind of, just a personality. At the time when game journalism was, changing and shifting, and online spaces were developing in different ways, Itagaki was a personality that, say what you want about Dead or Alive, or Dead or Alive is a perfectly reasonable fighting game. Say what you want about Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball, but that's what's on Game Logic's screen. If you slow down in those, no, I'm just kidding. That's the, but so yeah, again, just he broke off, started his own studio back in 2021, which had yet to release a game, and actually that was in his final post on Facebook, was about as it quotes here at the end of his kind of announcement that he wrote and someone posted after his death: "Deeply sorry to all my fans that I couldn't bring you a new work." So again, he was the age of 58. So
now the person who he entrusted this message to, Harada, they were rivals within the same company, right, for a while, weren't they? I can't remember what franchise. What franchise
yes,
was Harada in charge of?
Harada was it was very much part of a fight between them and Tekken. So Harada was the leader of the Tekken franchise, where they were back and forth and trash talking each other. And I read another article where they had publicly made up and reconnected, and obviously reconnected significantly, that Harada would be the one to make this post, or to be, kind of asked to make this post posthumously. So
now, my recollection from all the news stories and stuff that surrounded their rivalry was that while it publicly came off as toxic and certainly probably had some ill feelings about it, at the end of the day, right, they were both passionately driven to be competitive. And Itagaki definitely was the one who was kind of poking his finger in his eye, but at the end of the day, that was about. It wasn't that it was, at least as far as I know, as far as I understand. I haven't read into the deep bowels, right, of all the lore, so I could be wrong. But it wasn't that it was personal. It was really not even necessarily like Itagaki like not liking Harada. It was wanting his team and the game that they made to outperform the. So, and in many ways, in my head, being a Formula One fan, very interesting week as we hear that the Formula One license for television is going to Apple. Right, but it's been on my mind, like in Formula One, like the first rival you're responsible for beating, and what your agent and your manager and like all the other people, and even people on your team, right? That like the engineers want to know that their side of the garage is the best side, and like so your biggest rivalry is with your teammate, even though you're supposed to also work together to win. So, yeah, just interesting philosophy and interesting arc for that person's life.
Yeah, I never got into the Ninja Gaiden games, but I did play a little bit early on ones. The first one, I think, on the Xbox, the original Xbox, kind of later on when I finally got one, and then played Dead or Alive, which was a pretty competent fighting game, for controversy of the other controversies of that game, but still a pretty good fighting game overall. All right, let's jump into our last segment here, round robin. I'll jump on first on my Nintendo Switch 2 game of Ball X Pit. This is developed by Kenny Sun and published by Devolver Digital. It's
I think
reading this.
I think the person who made the game, who was in the televised spot, pronounces it Ball Pit. Just to clarify.
Yeah, I think they've taken out the X or the cross. It's just Ball Pit. Yep.
Oh, okay. It's still up there on pretty much everything I've looked at, so they must not have updated that yet. But
talking about mostly his comedic skit. I was trying to get the voice inflection.
Oh, okay. Brick breaking, ball fusing, base building, survival, roguelike, and it is all of those somehow. I've only played a little bit so far, maybe like 45 minutes ish. Yeah, your basic gameplay is you're kind of doing like a brick breaker type of gameplay where there's these enemies kind of coming down off the top of the screen, and you gotta kill them or break them with the balls they're throwing out. As you destroy them, they drop other balls, and you pick up and obviously add to how many you can shoot out. And then you can also, well, right now there's only one character I can pick, which is a knight, I believe. I'm assuming once the other ones unlock, you get, different abilities, just like in every other roguelite that you play. So once you get through, well, I don't know if you can actually get through a level, but once you die, or at least for me, once I've died, you kind of switch over to this kind of base building sim, where right now all I've got down is a couple of, wheat fields, forest maybe to collect wood, and also like a couple of like quarries where I can collect stone, and then you can send out I'm assuming villagers. I don't know if they've really said or not, but maybe I just wasn't paying attention. And then when you send out your villagers, though, you actually throw out the villager like the ball when you're doing the brick breaking thing. So he'll just bounce around the screen, and if you happen to hit your wheat field or whatever you have down, he'll pick it up, he'll mine, or he'll do whatever you need to do. So then that only happens for like a few bounces, and then he has to rest. So there's a kind of a cooldown on that. So that's pretty much all I've done so far. It's pretty interesting though, because I've always liked that kind of brick breaker style game. So it's interesting that they've layered all these other systems onto it. So we'll see how long I keep going on it. I should be able to keep going on. It seems like something that I can throw down Man, I think I did maybe my longest. I did like 3 runs. I think the longest run was like maybe 10 minutes. So it's not super long. I'm assuming if you can get to the end of a level, maybe it's like a 20-minute thing, 15, 20 minutes, at the most. So we'll have to see as I kind of progress through the game. But it's a very interesting game. Graphically, it's not the prettiest thing I've ever seen, but not. I guess hand drawn, but almost kind of a 3D-ish look to it. It's not like it's like pixel based or anything like that, but it's got an interesting graphic style to it that I'll not unpleasant for any stretch of the imagination. At least for me, I'm liking it. So I don't know, DB or Game Logic, if you've ever played it or at least like a demo or something of it.
Yeah, I played the demo over the summer. You're describing it pretty exactly well. So I'm curious to see what the progression kind of curve is and path. But it's enjoyable and it can get intense, and it's also a really solid game.
Yeah,
from the demo
yep,
that
definitely.
I played.
Yep. All right, Game Logic, you want to jump in here with your next couple PC games you've been playing?
Yeah, I won't take up a ton of time because I've got 3 games here and they're all squished together. But just kind of, learning more about myself may be too lofty of a term, but just trying to kind of work on like managing, like I think I mentioned earlier in the year, like watching when I need to like shift or pivot or take a break so that I don't wind up feeling like a game isn't hitting me and like never get back to it, but just understand that like no, like you've been doing a thing for a while and now you just need a break to do something else. And so it typically happens. What typically happens is when I focus on games, then I get hardware anxiety, right? Like so when I'm focused on playing like the best games that are out, then I'm like, oh, but I haven't played that piece of equipment in a few weeks, or that piece of equipment, or I see my Steam Decks on my desk, and I'm like, I haven't touched that, haven't played my Nintendo Switch 2. So recently, I've kind of been pivoting more towards a hardware focus, but also trying to, like you said, just come up with a better paradigm or whatever. But I wanted to get some more time in on my PCs because they've been kind of going neglected. And so I did pick back up with Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I actually just kind of started over from picking it up last year. Really enjoying it. I mean, just the same as I did last year. Graphically, the character models may not be the best artistic style, but I feel like they're very, very well done. Game is very performant. Frame rates are good. Frame pacing is a little problematic, particularly when you crank up the ray tracing. So I turned that down a little bit, and things have settled out. But I really enjoy the combat and the fluidity. We've talked a lot about fluidity and animations and stuff this season. Playing a fighter this time, or a warrior or whatever. And at least my character has a shield throw, which is just like, look, I mean, one of my reasons I love Captain America is because there's nothing more awesome than a shield throw. And like one of the powers that I picked up is he throws the shield, and then when the shield comes back, I can hit it with my weapon 2 more times, and then wind up hitting that enemy like 2 more times with a repetitive shield throw. So it's really awesome. Trudging through the campaign and having a good time. Um, and I've also been digging through like a lot of my storefronts, right, and looking at, I have this game over here, I have this game over there. So I was digging through GOG, and pulled out Fallout 4 as well. Talk about a game that's really would benefit really well from a remaster. In that, I mean, the graphics are still good in that game, and the character models are still good in that game. They've really stood the test of time. But I would also totally plunk down money for a remaster. Everything about the game is great. Flourishing music, set pieces, the VAT system, everything. Just is really good, but would also, particularly on the wake of like the Fallout television show, really do well. I suspect commercially, if it got a remaster. It did get a next gen update last year. That was not a remaster, so it was the same assets, just with an additional coat of paint. So, but yeah, having a good time with that one as well. And then finally, I did, after taking the break to play some NBA 2K26, I did pick Ghost of Yotei back up today, and just like I think the only reason I'm not gushing about this game as much is just because of Expedition 33, and I gushed a lot about Expedition 33, and I am normally not a person who gushes about any one game, because I know, for any game that I love that I gush about, number one, I'm probably gushing about it because it's out of some quirky nit that is just me, but also because I'm sure there are other people who don't like it. But man, Ghost of Yotei, today I just happened to stumble across, there was a bounty that I was aware of that I didn't take, and then I just happened to stumble up across that person's camp. I picked up my longbow today, which does the same type of thing that the regular bow does, but it can I have a skill that now when you shoot, it can disarm the person of their melee weapon. The longbow also uses heavy arrows, and it can knock people's helmets off, right, and give them a debuff on armor. It's just like I said, so organic, right? As you're going across the landscape, I just constantly run into I was going into one territory because now I'm going to chase down Kinitsu, the second of the Yotei 6 that I'm going after finally. And as I go, I stumble across this group of hunters who's trying to kill these wolves, one of which is your companion who's helped you out a little bit. So it spawns into a whole side mission that is about you, Will. And that's the biggest thing, and I'll try and make this the last thing I say. The biggest thing is just how side missions don't feel like side missions. They feel like the campaign. That the wolf winds up being a steady companion of yours. And so as I stumble upon him, it's not written and wired into the campaign in a linear fashion like it would be in a normal game. In a normal game, if a thing was going to become your long-standing companion through the game, that would be scripted into the mainline campaign. But this is just out there as a side mission. You could never come across it, right? Potentially, depending on what path you take across the landscape. So yeah, it's just really awesome. Everything about it is just very, organic, and it's just a pretty amazing piece of software, I think.
Nice. All right, my next game here. I'm just going to talk a little bit about. I might throw this next week's kind of main game because I've been playing a heck of a lot of it. It's Pokemon Legends Z to A, or Z through A, however you want to say it, on the Nintendo Switch 2. So it's the next Pokemon, not mainline, but obviously it's the Legends. So you had Arceus last year or year before, and then now you have Legends Z through A, which I believe, because I don't think I ever played these games, is in line with Pokemon X and Y, I believe.
Yeah, it's set in Lumio City. Yep, it's a 3DS X and Y.
Okay, yeah, because I don't think I ever played that one, either of those titles. So I've been enjoying a lot. I should say, not like I said, but I'm just gonna skip it for now. I think I'm gonna talk more about it because I was really struggling on whether I want to talk about this or Battlefield 6, but since I had missed the previous week, I just threw Battlefield 6 for my main game. So DB, if you want to go through your kind of other Next Fest games.
I think we're pretty close to our 90-minute mark. So I think as I said, with Steam Next Fest, there's plenty of stuff out there. You've got one more day beforehand. I got a lot of games that I could talk about, and I think, truth be told, that if these games are good enough, I'll probably talk about them again. Right? I played some Brawlers. Forestrike was an interesting kind of puzzle beat 'em up game, not a puzzle combat game. I don't know that I actually like it, but the idea is you're a character that can see ahead, and so you're planning out your moves, and then you do that, right? And so you can keep going back into the foresight mode to plan out your move to have the best combat, to not take any damage. And so there's a little bit of puzzle aspect to that. And then really the only other one that I'll hit on is Bubsy 4D. I know it's Bubsy, but it's done by somebody, Bratz, who did Oh, Fabraz. Sorry, Brad. Fabraz that did Demon Turf. It definitely, like, graphically looks a whole lot better than what Demon Turf was when it came out 3 years ago, and it plays really well as a 3D platformer. So, I'm stumbling over the fact that I'm interested in a Bubsy game, I guess, is the best way to end the show tonight. So
DBQ, I do want to ask you one question just to pull a little more of your insights out about these, since you didn't get a chance to talk about them a lot. Is there any one of these? So we talked last week about the bumper crop of indies that we've had this year that are going to be vying for award spots. Any of these that you see have the potential to break out with this? No? Okay.
no, I mean, and oftentimes the what kind of rises to the crop in the indie award space is either something that's really narrative based, like Disco Elysium, or something that has a good kind of roguelike hook or a really tight platformer. I found some things interesting. I don't know that I found anything other than Painkiller that really stuck with me more than the 20 to 30 minutes I invested in it.
Nice. All right, let's jump into the significant releases for this coming week. And I did slip one in here, one that I just found out about a couple days ago. But first up, October 21st, we got 3 games here. Ninja Gaiden 4, excuse me, for PS5, Xbox Series XS, and PC. I got Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 for PS5, Xbox, same thing, PS5, Xbox XS, and PC. And then Painkiller, as we had mentioned earlier, for PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC, Xbox Series, excuse me, and PC, all coming out on October 21st. 22nd, we got Dispatch, which I'm not sure, I don't know which one of you put that one in. What's that one about for PlayStation 5 and PC?
Yeah, I put that one in. So Dispatch is a not I don't want to say revisionist. What I can't remember what the term is that we use for the type of
like
it's literary style.
It's not quite a visual novel, but it's in that type of style.
Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. It's like Watchmen. It's like The Boys. It's anytime we put this like layer of like more like real world like groundedness around like comic book stuff. It'll come to me at some point. But at any rate, it's the premise is that the superheroes get dispatched right from like a precinct, like a police precinct, like cops do. And so like they're on watch, waiting for a call, like, and they're managed through a central switchboard. And depending on what the issue is, like that hero will get dispatched, or sometimes like the hero you'd want to send like isn't available because they had the watch last night or whatever. But the reason it's significant is because I believe it has a pretty high caliber voice acting talent on it that just like seems to be way above like the premise of the game and the budget of the game. So like I think it has Jennifer English and Brad Starr and is Brad Starr. That may not be the right first name, from Ben Starr from Expedition 33 and obviously many other famous video games.
Yeah.
So
Aaron Paul is in there as well.
Oh yeah, from Breaking Bad. So yeah, a lot of star talent. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how it lands.
Nice. All right, and then October 23rd, we got a couple here. The one I had, the second one here, it was one I slipped in here, but the first one is Persona 3 Reload for the Switch 2, and that's just like that's a remake or a remaster of the Persona 3 Switch 2. And when
it came out on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 2 years ago at this point. So
okay.
Yep.
All right. And when I slipped in here, Becastled, which is kind of a city builder, but tower defense in the same right. I guess it's coming out of early access. It was in early access. It's coming out for a lot of stuff. PS4, 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. That's coming out the 23rd. And then finally, Hot Wheels Let's Race Ultimate Speed, coming out October 24th for Xbox. I'm sorry. Xbox Series, XS, Switch, PC, and PS5. And I think that's from a TV show, like a cartoon or something. I believe it was a Hot Wheels one. I don't think it's like has anything to do or like the next iteration of the the other Hot Wheels games that have come out.
Not like the Codemasters, the Charged or whatever. Yeah, this is the last 2 Hot Wheels have been done by Game Mill.
Yeah. All right, so it's a pack week. Anything either of you guys are looking forward to in this list, other than maybe Painkiller for DB? Yeah. All right, I'm looking forward to the Castle because they look kind of interesting, but I don't know. I probably won't pick it up right away. I'll probably pick it up on a later date. So we'll see.
The word I was looking for was deconstructionist.
Nice.
That has become like one of my more favorite styles of comic book telling, and those seem to be the ones also that are getting picked to become like movies and especially TV shows. So yes, so I would call Dispatch like a deconstructionist approach towards telling about superheroes being dispatched from a central switchboard at a police station.
Nice. All right, gentlemen, that is it for episode number 408. I didn't know. I forgot what number it was. Any last words before we head out? Game Logic or DBQ Hams? Nothing. Thank you, everybody who joined us in the comments here down under Innate, Chem, and Ghostface Killer. If anybody else was there, please ask us questions. Throw a comment in there. We'll always try to comment ourselves on that ourselves. So for Mr. Game Logic, DBQ Hams, thank you for joining me tonight. I am Talmaster99. Please take care of yourselves out there. Play those games, and we will see you next week with DBQ Hams being the primary host, with myself and Game Logic as the co-host. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.